Welcome to the Kiwi Mana Bay. Hi there, this is episode 137 of our beekeeping show, Manuka Honey Explosion.
Kiwi Mana are beekeepers from the hills of the Waitaki Ranges on the wild west coast of Auckland in the North Island of New Zealand.
We produce and sell beekeeping equipment, provide beekeeper services and education. Yes, in this episode we discuss the honey glut and too many beehives, and the questions is, why are there too many bees in the Hawke's Bay? And why are small beekeepers in New Zealand having trouble selling their honey?
Yes, and we also hear from roving reports from Canada, Switzerland and the United States. And the show notes for this show are kiwi.bz, or BZ for you overseas people, /137.
Yeah, awesome. And there's lots going on overseas, isn't there, with flooding in Australia and the Northern Territories, and scorchios over here in our South Island with fires and, heaps going on.
Yeah, it's hot in Auckland, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, we're having quite a heat wave, and
so if you can hear the cicadas in the background, it's because we've got the doors open.
Yeah, it's just so hot, man. So it's evening here, and we're just enjoying the summer so immensely and very grateful for it. But who else helped us in bringing the show to you?
This show is made possible by our amazing supporters. Every show we read out our top supporters, and on the first show of each month we read out all the supporters. Thanks to you all. This show would like to thank Nathan Buzzing Beekeeping,
Trish Stretton, Lisa Morrissey, Christopher Brown, Greg Parr and Barbara Weber.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's awesome. Congrats to Mr. Robin O'Connell from Victoria in Australia. He's reached the reward level. A Kiwi Mana t-shirt or cup is on its way.
Yes, and Robin got in touch and he said that he'll be wearing it with pride at the Geelong Beekeepers Club. So that's awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks for spreading the word, Robin.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Robin. And welcome to your new t-shirt. Awesome.
Thanks, Robin, for all your support. What does it mean to be an organic or natural beekeeper?
Gary, that's a great question. And, I often sit down and ponder these things because I like to encourage natural bee behaviour. And I think that in the last show we discussed that there would be some changes in bee behaviour. And how are we dealing with that and trying to keep on top of things and letting the bees be bees? Well, we saw that they are being bees, and there was a bit of a strange event, and the bees are obviously reacting to the weather. And one very hot afternoon when the whole apiary suddenly, 17 hives at that time because the beginner kits were still here, almost went mental.
Yeah, it was crazy, eh? It was like bees flying around and everything.
Yeah, it was amazing, and we heard this big buzz and lots of bees. They were disorganised. Well, it appeared to be disorganised, and they were going all over the show, weren't they?
Yes, they were. It was almost like a swarming situation, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I thought it was a swarming event, but thankfully didn't last long, eh? And then after about 5 minutes, everyone just went calm and carried on.
Do you think it's to do with the heat?
Yeah, it could have been the dryness, I don't know, but it was amazing. And then, the hives no one swarmed, there was no swarms in the trees or anything. They just went back to their hives, and there have been a bit of flying around going on. So I think it really is to do with this huge amount of heat and humidity we're having at the moment.
And so for our overseas listeners, what's the weather been like in Auckland?
Well, we've had drought here, and we ran out of water in our home water tanks, so we're on our spare tanks at the moment. Basically, that has seen us having to be very careful about what we're doing with the water, eh?
Yes, it just had to start drinking more beer, eh?
More beer. I hate beer.
Yeah, I know.
I think a gin and tonic might be more up mine, or a nice cup of tea.
So the weather's changing the people's behaviour. What about the bee behaviour?
Well, we've had calls from folks saying that their hives are being robbed out. And with the robbing out, you see a lot of wax waste and the bees are fighting out front and that kind of thing. And you really have to get on top of that really quickly. We have not had a robbing event. We had one issue where a swarm we caught, which was in a cardboard box, was suddenly attacked. And I don't really know what was going on there, but by the time I got there, the hive they had nothing left in there. So that's what happens. It's the only hive that didn't have a robbing screen.
It had quite a big entrance, didn't it?
Yeah.
And what about the beekeeper activities? Have they been going crazy as well?
I think that the beekeeper activities have been like hot. And I mean hot. Sweating profusely. I'm doing a lot of weightlifting at the moment. And this season, I just was really slow to add extra space just because I did it on purpose with the idea that the girls would cap more cells, because last season I found too much space added too soon, saw lots of unfinished and uncapped honey frames. And so I thought, well, I'll do it a bit slower this year, and I am actually getting more full frames of honey capped. So, yeah, feeling pleased. Good. Yeah, pleased about that, Dale.
So the capping's going well then?
Yeah, the capping. I take my cap off to the girls. How did you like that?
Yeah. As far as beekeeping activities for me, I've been taking it easy because I've still got a damaged nerve in my back. So. Yeah,
we were doing some work out in the lawn and clearing some areas, and Gary was scrub cutting, and he's injured his back. So he's been, his job has been to rest and recover.
Yes, and watch lots of Netflix.
Indeed, that's been fun too. But anyway, the results of doing, things a bit slower sees that the capping's going well, and the next things we're working on in terms of, for me, is that the next inspections are going to include an oxalic acid vaporization treatment and doing my plans for preparations for autumn. And that's going to include how I'm going to winter down and get all the gear sorted. And then I'll go into that a bit more on the next podcast. So I'll go over the gear I use and how I will put that in place. And I think benefits of planning ahead is, my view is, it's always good to pay attention to what you want to achieve in the next season, and then do that in the month before the season starts. So if you're going to treat or anything like that, try and get it done 4 weeks before the official start of that season. That's my view. That's how I'm dealing with it at the moment, and that's what's going on as we come to the last weeks of summer.
Absolutely, and our mission is to save bees one hive at a time, isn't it?
Yes, Gary, and you say that with such conviction.
I do. Yeah. We're trying to help you guys out there to keep your honeybees alive.
Yeah, and one thing I found this year is that the bees are really coping so well, and it's just so exciting. And to see how I'm not treating as heavily, because I wanted to see if we could get away with doing it, the oxalic acid vaporization, on such a regular basis. And it's really proving that the bees are just, really coping well. So I'm very excited. And guys, a lot of you are taking us up on the oxalic acid side of things and getting really awesome results. So keep it up, and that means we're all going to be helping each other. I tell you that now.
Absolutely, and helping the bees too, eh?
Yeah, that's the one, eh?
It's the last weeks of summer here in New Zealand, but what's happening around the world? This month we heard from the United States, Switzerland, and Canada. First up, let's go to John and Jeannie from Huntington in Indiana. They're from Tulip Tree Adopt-A-Bee.
Hello, Gary and Margaret. This is John.
And Jeannie, checking in from Tulip Tree Adopt-A-Bee in northern Indiana, USA.
Hey, it's been really cold over here the last few weeks.
The polar vortex pushed our overnight temperatures down to minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 26 degrees Celsius, and the wind chill factor was 45 or 50 below.
So there's not been much going on in the apiary. Jeannie went out the other day and brushed the snow off all the front entrances of the hives to make sure the colonies had good circulation.
There were tiny footprints in front of 2 of the hives, which made us think a mouse might have gotten inside, but there's really nothing we can do about that now.
We'll just curl up with a warm cup of tea, dream of spring, and enjoy catching up on our favorite beekeeping podcasts.
You two really provide us with a lot of encouragement and helpful insight. We really appreciate it.
That's for sure. Well, that's all for now from Tulip Tree Adopt-A-Bee.
Bye.
Oh, that's awesome to hear that they're curling up and listening to the KM137 buzz.
Oh, that was good to hear from them, and it's nice to know that they're enjoying a good cuppa in front of the fire and keeping nice and warm, because their temperatures, man, that is freezing.
It is always a good idea to clear the snow from the entrances, just in case there's a good day and the bees can sometimes come out and do some cleansing flights.
Yeah, cleansing flights are often done even at the coldest of temperatures because they just need to go out and have an evacuation.
Evacuation complete.
Go out and do a bee poo.
Bee poo, bee poo.
And the mice, that's you can't do much about it, can you? Now you just got to wait for that when you can get into the hives next.
I'm surprised the mice are actually walking around. They're probably putting on their shoes and leaving the footprints just to let everyone know they are around.
Could be. Let's head across the Atlantic now to Switzerland.
Oh, that sounds awesome, Gary.
Hey Kiwi Mana, this is Niklas with a short update from Switzerland. Currently we have deepest winter here. The temperatures are between -5 and +5 degrees, and there's snow everywhere while bees aren't flying. Although it's important to monitor the varroa mites in the colonies, if there are too much, you should repeat the oxalic acid treatment. If there's everything okay, don't disturb the bees so they can get a few more weeks before spring comes and the action starts again. Due to the cold weather, I can't do anything with the bees. So that's actually everything I can tell you, because nearly nothing is going on with the bees. So let's go back to Margaret and Gary to New Zealand.
Thanks for that, Nicholas. And we can see that it would be a quiet time. And, unfortunately here in New Zealand, we don't have that luxury really, do we? Because we have brood all year round and foraging nearly all year round, don't we?
We do. We just have a lot more rain, But -5 to +5, it's not a very good range, is it? I mean, the other day here it was 48 degrees.
I actually left the temperature gauge on the table in the sun, and it went up to 45 degrees.
Oh, that's why.
So that's why. But our lowest temperature at the moment is 13 degrees Celsius. So, very all foraging temperature, basically 24 hours a day at the moment.
Does seem that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was good to hear from Nicholas, and glad that you got in touch with us this time, and wonderful to hear from you. And who's next, Gary?
Well, we're going back across the Atlantic to Canada and Toronto from Yolanda from Yoli Bee's Bee Journal. What's Yoli got to say?
Good morning, Kiwi Mana. Good morning, bee friends. This is your roving reporter, Yoli Bear, coming to you from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, with bees in Frontenac County, which is north of Kingston. The weather report. Looking outside, you would think it's a warm, sunny day. Actually not. You'll see the snow outside and go, oh, I don't want to go out there. A few days ago, maybe about Monday, we had a snowstorm. And the snowstorm came in, assessed the situation, and said, you know what? It's not cold enough, and there's not enough snow on the ground. Let me fix that. So there is a lot of snow on the ground now, and the temperature is -19 degrees Celsius, which in Fahrenheit, that's -2 degrees Fahrenheit. It's cold. But outside, the kids are having fun building snowmen for sure. For the bees, just making sure that the entrances are clear so that the airflow is still there. They'll have oxygen. So I wouldn't clear the snow around the hives because snow is a natural insulation. insulation. Snow is natural insulation for the bees. So basically right now I'm just waiting for March to get here so that it'll be a little bit warmer so that I can go do some beekeeping. Come on, spring! I know my girls are smart, so I try not to worry about them too much, although they're in my thoughts every day. Just trying to keep myself sane until spring. Over to you, Gary and Margaret.
Cool bananas.
Yeah. I mean, our girls are always on our mind, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think, we're all crazy here anyway, but try to keep sane, Yoli Bear, until we catch up with you again. And yes, it's not too far away where the temperatures should be changing, but who knows?
Yes, and she brought up a good point about the snow on top of the hive is actually quite a good insulator, isn't it? So you should leave it on the top, but not the entrances, eh?
Not the entrances, and I think snow's quite dry, eh? It's when it starts to thaw you could get a few issues.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I just want to say, we miss you, Brit Mana, and hope to hear from you soon. Hey, do you want to be a roving reporter for Kiwi Mana?
Yes, that'd be awesome if you could help create the buzz by being part of the show, reporting in from your location while in the field. We need more Kiwi reporters. They're all shy, eh?
Oh, my goodness gracious me. They should just get out there and tell us what they're up to. We've heard through the Facebooks and emails and everything that there's a bit of a dearth going on in some areas where the nectar flow has stopped. Some people are doing another extraction, which can cause a bit of robbing behaviour for nearby folk who are a bit vulnerable to robbing bees, and think that we could hear from you guys and what you're doing with it. Some people have said they've had swarms, but they've been so high in trees they just couldn't get them.
Yes, that's true. So if you could record a quick update, if that's anyone in the world, and just send a quick 2-minute update of your local weather conditions and what people should be doing with the bees in their area, and just send that to gary@kiwimana.co.nz, titled Roving Reporter.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, eh? Thanks so much, Nicholas, Yoli Bear, and John and Jenny. And yeah, just keep warm, guys. And we look forward to hearing how you go as the temperatures start to warm up and how that snow is affecting things. So keep warm.
Beekeeping news. News you can use.
Yes, and you can share your views when you hear this news.
And first story, just plain stupid. Manuka honey explosions leaving Hawke's Bay bees starving. There are too many bees in the Hawke's Bay, and this is causing issues for local beekeepers and bees. What's a quote from the article?
It says, a veteran Hawke's Bay beekeeper says many people trying to get on board the Manuka honey gold rush are actually causing the local honeybee population to starve.
Yes, indeed.
It's saying that there isn't enough plantings going on and too many bees.
That's true. That's what it says. And the overstocking of hives in the area is causing big problems. So there's not enough food for all the bees that have been brought there. And pollination of clover is worth more to the economy than Manuka honey ever would be, which is true, isn't it? Because all the clover's to feed cows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think they make some good points in there about that if you have normally like 50 cows on there and your neighbour's got 50 cows and then suddenly some guy comes in and puts 2,000 on there, that you are overstocking and then you're going to get less food available. So it's kind of logical that there would be an effect, but I don't know how they're going to do anything about it.
I think they have to legislate the issues. But it also goes on to say that the export for honey in 2017 was 300 million, and the value generated by pollination has been estimated at 5 billion.
Yeah, million versus billion. Work that one out.
Billion is better.
So what are they pollinating in actual fact?
Well, crops, all crops, honey, like a lot of, in the Hawke's Bay there'd be a lot of kiwi fruit, isn't there?
They have a lot of fruit, they do a lot of the blackberries, raspberries, a lot of berries are from down there, and peaches, and Yeah, awesome stuff. I love their fruits and they're just yum, yum, yum.
And it's ironic that the person that was quoted in this article is John Berry.
Very good.
Anyway.
That was very good.
And the third biggest loss of hives in the Hawke's Bay has been suspected starvation, which is terrible, eh?
Yeah, and the other thing is they were saying that losses was due to queen issues, but maybe that's... I don't know, how did they determine that? They shouldn't be killing their queens all the time.
It's to do with the survey of hive losses, isn't it? So they got those statistics from. Yeah, they have a survey every year that they can send it to all the beekeepers.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just think that it does indicate to me that we have to find a sort of a balance between it. But we have got some other feedback here, Dale. What does Trish say?
Yes, Trish says stats are just a little too pat. I agree with the overpopulation, but though greed is what it boils down to. So she's saying the statistics are not real?
They're not defined enough, I think, to really understand what exactly is causing loss. So starvation is one thing. Maybe people need to leave more honey on. Well, that's my view. Anyway, what does Lynn say?
She says the effects of consumerism are seen everywhere. I wish people would stop jumping on bandwagons and buy locally. When I first heard of Manuka honey and its supposed benefits, I thought, that's fine, but it's from an island on the other side of the world. I'll never be tasting it. I get my honey from down the road. Oh, she must be from overseas.
Okay, and Cara Lassane Boucher says, not good at all. And Jewel Lloyd says, it's an interesting article. Save the Bees campaign promoting beekeeping. Are these commercial growers protecting their patch? I'm sure somewhere in the middle will be the reality. Yeah, that's possibly it.
True.
Yeah. I think a lot of commercial guys, will say, well, my view is that there's comments about hobbyist beekeepers and too many of them and they caused AFB. I've come to realise is not absolutely true. They're actually more fanaticky about keeping an eye on disease and everything.
Fanaticky? Is that a new word?
Fanaticky. It's like majestical.
And Megan Vertile says, not to mention competing with native birds and native insects for pollen. There has to be a balance.
Yeah, I agree with Megan. The balance is very important. But who decides that balance?
Beekeepers.
Okay, and Brian Mitchell says it's marketers. They are the source of the problem. Most of the benefits of Manuka honey are in the topical application to ulcers and surface medical conditions. For eating it is no better than any other honey. People waste their money buying this honey at its premium price.
Yeah, it's true. Because, once you eat it, it's not really helping your stomach. At least got a stomach ulcer, maybe.
I don't know. I think eating it and it's just cleaning out the system in many ways, isn't it? And it's, like we had that article about diabetes and that it can be good for diabetics. So there's got to be something happening.
Yeah, but that article was about raw honey, not Manuka honey. He's talking about Manuka honey, isn't he?
Yeah, but is Manuka honey, is it raw? Manuka honey has lots of health properties, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
Does, but I think buying a high UMF factor honey is pointless if you're just going to put it on your toast. You might as well just get a low level one. Why would you spend $600 on a jar of honey for your toast?
It's a big question. It's worth pondering. And Brian also goes on to say that he says the planting of Manuka on otherwise productive farmland, cattle and sheep country, is likely to reduce national income from what would otherwise be long-term protein meat and fibre wool producing regions. The world needs more protein for human health than sweet substances. Even bees need protein, which they source from pollen taken from flowers.
Yes, good point there, Brian.
Yeah, I think that I would say that the margins that the government are encouraging people to plant Manuka in are generally identified as not productive farmland and obviously risky for grazing. So that's one of the reasons why they're planting up the marginal areas. but there's quite a bit more of Brian's feedback here. So if you guys want to read that, it'll be on our show notes.
Yes, which will be kiwi.bz/137. And thanks, Brian, for your huge feedback there. It's awesome.
Yeah, and also to Megan, Jewel, Cara, Trish and Lynn. Thanks, guys, for getting back to us and having some really good input on this one.
Yes, awesome. And the next story is honey glut as warehouses fill with unwanted product. Small beekeepers are having trouble selling their honey to suppliers, especially if it's honey without a high Manuka factor. So that basically they're having trouble selling honey that's not Manuka, like clover honey and Rewa honey. That's one of the ones they mentioned.
Yeah, they said there was a lot of Rewa this season, and they've got a lot in store. And I think it's funny because you talk about people are having trouble selling their honey here in this article, and in the other article they're talking about, too many bees. So for Manuka production. So, I think that honey is such an awesome thing, don't you? And the bees are so awesome and produce all this wonderful stuff, and we should just enjoy it. So let's see what the article says. And reading the quote, it says, small-time beekeepers are finding it hard to sell their honey, leaving some sitting on large stocks of unsold product.
Well, at least it's not going to go off, is it?
Well, that's so true, Gary. You're absolutely right.
It's not like they've got, canisters of milk.
Just from this article, they say that there's a lot of honey that is sitting around, and all the bigger buyers are saying, we aren't buying any until we have sold our own. So this producer, who has asked not to be named, says that, they're last on the list when they're looking for buying honey. So, it's growing so fast, and companies have their own marketing strategy, so that's impacting.
Yes, true. And what does Margaret say?
Margaret says, I reckon sell it locally, sell good raw natural honey from the beehive, and the locals will love it.
I agree, Margaret.
Thank you, Gary.
And Heather Carson, what does she say?
She says, we have a lot of local honey, and that's what I buy. Locally made, bottled, and we know the people we buy it off. Look after local economy where we can. Hear, Heather.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Because I know in Australia they have a local honey map, where you can buy honey from the locals. We should have something here,
It's wonderful. I think that's a great idea. And, I think it's good to support local folks who build stuff or make stuff or sell stuff or grow stuff. I think that...
Yeah, especially beekeeping supply companies.
Oh, yes, that's top of the list, really.
And what does Donna Trott say?
She says, so what's wrong with your export advertising?
Oh, so she's saying that smaller people don't export overseas? I'm guessing because they've only got small amounts and they don't have those contacts overseas, Donna, I'm guessing.
I'm not sure exactly, but I think that these are local guys who are selling to bigger guys, and the bigger guys are using their own stores first. So, yeah, maybe they could start expanding. I don't know. It's a big cost doing that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. What does John Fast say?
He says farmers markets, any local shops that will sell it for you, even roadside stands sometimes work. I'd buy local if I wasn't already a backyard beekeeper myself. Yeah.
Yes, but there's been a story this week in Australia where some roadside stand was robbed. So, they're not safe as well either, are they?
Yeah, we have a lot of them around here, eh? We have people selling free-range eggs. We have people selling a lot of pony poo. We have people selling mandarins and lemons and tomatoes and strawberries.
And even milk.
And milk. And we go down to our local milk, local farm, and they have Daisy there, and she is producing the most awesome milk.
They've only got one cow there.
No, they've got a group of cows.
Oh.
They're the beautiful brown ones with the big eyes, and they're just so awesome, but it's a bit dry at the moment, so that is affecting the milk production. Anyway, back to the story.
Yes, John Thompson, he's in Alberta. What's he saying?
He says, here in Alberta, Canada, the smaller local beekeepers use the many farmers' markets to move their own honey. By the way, it is 15 degrees Celsius with a light snow cover. Minus 15 degrees.
15.
Whoa, sorry, I missed that very important
15
minus.
is not too bad.
It's in the Banff National Park, BHP.
They are under 2 to 4 metres of white stuff. It's winter wonderland for winter sports.
Oh, fantastic.
Fantastic. And Kristen
Gunther
says, lower the price. They will sort the surplus. That's a good idea. And Ray Bremner says, I saw this a couple of weeks ago. I'm always a bit sceptical about what's in the media. Normally, the only true reliable source is the date.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So he's saying that the media it's all lies?
Well, I think that there is probably some truth to this because it is about this madness with all the bees and honey in New Zealand and Manuka and, overpopulation. So it's accumulating and all these things are affecting the whole beekeeping sector. So I think just make it simple, guys. Support your local beekeepers.
Yes, absolutely. And Graham Manning says, I, like many others, want honey, but the selling price of it is ludicrous. They'll be playing on the honey doesn't have an expiry date and hold on to it till it sells. Absolutely, Graham.
Yeah, well, why not? I would too. If it wasn't demand for it then, there will be demand for it shortly.
That's right.
Yeah, Jean Rugg says, I say bring it on. Get more bees and take less honey. Sounds like win-win to me. Media had to whinge about success. Mutter, mutter, grumble. But damn, looking at other sites, that's a low per kilo price. I should get into mead.
Yes. Yes, you should, Jean.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And Dan Warren says, well, there goes my chances of becoming millionaire from my 10 hives. And maybe, although I doubt it, the ridiculous retail prices for honey might come down.
Absolutely. And we hear from Graham Manning again. Retail prices put people off buying. No retail equals no wholesale, which equals unwanted product. Look on the bright side. It's not going to expire.
That's it. So Lee says, can I ask how there is a glut when late last year supermarkets put a limit on how many bottles of honey a customer could buy? Seriously, this is bullshit. Well, say it like you mean it.
And what does Dave Spart say?
He says over the last 5 years, hive numbers have increased massively. A lot of that extra honey that was produced was used for blending with Manuka, which was possible as there wasn't an effective standard. Now that there is stringent standard, that honey is now surplus to requirements, so there is a glut.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's a lot more feedback on this, and I think bottom line is... Oh, I've got to read this one. Steve Tippett says, haha, I know. I laugh at this. For the past 8 years or so, big honey buyers couldn't buy Rewa Rewa fast enough.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, that's the best honey ever, I reckon. Now, all of a sudden, they don't need any more. Wonder what they were doing previously with all the Rewa Rewa. Anyway.
Noel McFarlane has a good idea. He says form a co-op.
Yeah, like a local co-op, eh?
Yeah, like more like Frontiera. They have a
and just join together, guys. All the locals join together and become a promoter of local honey. Yeah.
Yeah, or a honey sales map. Someone needs to do that.
Yeah, something like that. Be awesome. But this is a great article. Caused a lot of conversation. All in all, I think that one's a good one.
Feedback from you. We heard from Mandy Shaw from Beekeeping Confidential.
And she says, you know it, weather here has taken a turn, and we've had some snow, and there is more snow on the way. So much for springtime. I hope your back heals quickly. That's for you, Gary.
Thanks, Mandy.
Yeah, thanks, Mandy. Awesome. And guys, Noel, Malcolm, Steve, Dave, Lee, Graham, Dan, Jean, Ray, Kristen, John, Donna, You guys are just so awesome. And, these discussions regarding these articles is just awesome because I think we do need to make people aware that honey is a beautiful commodity, but greediness can cause a lot of issues. So I just look after my own backyard, Gary. Oh, wow, that's cool. And so we've come to the end of the show, guys. And do you love what we do? Did you find something useful for your beekeeping? Do you want to help us to produce more content?
And it's easy to become a supporter. You just go to kiwi.bz/banana. And also just a note that we use Patreon for our supporter site, and it actually operates in US dollars.
If you become a supporter, you get a mention on the show, Gary.
Wow, and you also get these shows a whole week before everyone else.
Yeah, awesome. A few privileges there.
It'd be awesome if you could do that.
Oh, and of course the warm heart, Gary.
Yes, the warm heart.
You'll sleep better at night, guys, knowing you are helping the beekeeping community. And,
And helping us eat. It's always good to have food.
Oh, food is good, yeah. So helping us produce these shows and videos and blog posts for the whole of the beekeeping community worldwide, and we just love doing it for you guys. So if you think that's something we do is of value, please consider becoming a supporter through the Patreon.
Yes, absolutely. And the show notes for this podcast are kiwi.bz/137.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with a new show.
Yeah, guys, it's been wonderful, and we're loving this weather, and I've got to go and mow the lawns, Gary.
Well, you're on your own. I'm still walking around like I'm 90.
Okay.
See you guys.
See ya. I can mow the lawn and then you can crawl on the ground and collect all the cut grass.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Anyway, we'll get on to it ASAP.